There's one system in your body that absolutely never, ever sleeps. It's working 24/7 to keep you alive. And today, we're diving into one of biology's greatest marvels your immune system. It's this huge, microscopic army, and it's constantly fighting to protect you from an endless barrage of invisible enemies. So let's just start with a big question. Forget about high tech missile shields or digital firewalls. What if I told you that the most sophisticated, most intelligent defense system ever created wasn't built by humans at all?
Yeah, the answer is way more personal than that. It's not something cooked up in a lab or built in a factory. It's this incredibly intricate living network that's been evolving for millions of years. And it is operating inside your body, right at this very moment.
To really get a handle on this system, you first have to appreciate the sheer scale of the battle it's always fighting. Seriously, it's a non-stop war happening on a microscopic level. And the most amazing part? Most of the time, you don't even have a clue it's happening.
So, who are the enemies in this war? Well, we call them pathogens, and they are a seriously diverse bunch of threats. We're talking everything from the common cold virus and bacteria, all the way to fungi, protists, and even parasitic worms. Your body is basically under constant siege from this rogues gallery. So, how does your body fight back? Well, think of it like a medieval fortress with multiple layers of defense. The very first line is just about keeping the invaders from ever getting in. It's simple, but man, is it effective. Your skin is the most obvious barrier, right? It's a tough physical shield. But you've also got mucous membranes, like the lining of your nose, that are basically sticky traps for any would-be invaders. And on top of that, your body uses chemical weapons, enzymes, super strong stomach acid, and even the salt in your sweat make your body's surfaces a really hostile place to be. And the key thing here is that this first line is non-specific. It doesn't care what you are, it just blocks any potential intruder. But of course, those outer walls aren't perfect. Sometimes pathogens manage to sneak through, and when that happens, your body's second line of defense kicks into high gear. This is still a general, non-specific response, but now it's an active counterattack.
And here's where something you've definitely experienced comes into play. Inflammation. So picture this. You get a thorn in your finger. That's a breach. Almost instantly, special mast cells sound the alarm by releasing a chemical called histamine. This makes the nearby blood vessels widen and get a little leaky, which allows a flood of reinforcements to rush to the scene. This is the cavalry, white blood cells called macrophages, and these guys are like Pac-Man on steroids, just engulfing and digesting any invading bacteria. It is a rapid, localized, all-out assault.
Okay, but what happens when a general response just isn't enough? What if you're dealing with a specific virus that's spreading all through your body? Well, that's when you call in the third line of defense, the elite special forces of your immune system. And this is where things get really, really smart. And this really shows you the two major parts of your immune system. Everything we've talked about so far, the skin, the inflammation, that's all part of your innate immunity. It's fast, it's immediate, but it's general. The third line is your adaptive immunity. Now, it's a bit slower to get going, but it is incredibly specific to one particular threat. And this is the most important part, it has a memory.
To understand how this adaptive system works, we need to know what it's looking for. And it's looking for something called an antigen. Think of an antigen as a molecular fingerprint. It's a unique shape, usually on the surface of a pathogen, that your body recognizes as foreign, as not me. It's basically the signal that says, hey, bad guy over here, and triggers that targeted attack.
Now, the adaptive system launches this brilliant two-pronged attack. You've got the cell-mediated response, led by T cells, which goes after your own body cells that have already been infected. And at the same time, you have the humoral response, led by B cells, which targets the bad guys that are just floating around in your body's fluids, like your blood. Let's meet the agents behind these two strategies. First up, T cells. These are the assassins. See, a virus can't really do anything on its own. It has to hijack one of your cells and turn it into a little virus factory, while cytotoxic T cells hunt down these compromised zombie cells and force them to commit what's called apoptosis. Basically, they tell the infected cell to self-destruct, taking the virus down with it. It stops the pathogen's replication right in its tracks. B cells, on the other hand, are like mobile weapons factories. Once they're activated, they start pumping out these incredibly specific Y-shaped proteins called antibodies. These antibodies circulate through your body, and they are tailor-made to bind perfectly to one specific antigen, effectively tagging invaders for destruction or just neutralizing them directly. And there isn't just one type of antibody either. Different classes have different jobs, kind of like a specialized toolkit. For example, some antibodies are the first responders that show up to a brand new infection, while others are built for the long haul, providing lasting protection. It's a highly specialized and coordinated production line. So who's coordinating this whole two-pronged attack? Well, the unsung hero here is the helper T cell. Think of it as the field commander. When another immune cell finds an antigen and shows it to a helper T cell, that cell recognizes the threat and releases chemical signals that activate both the T cell assassins and the B cell weapons factories. They are the crucial link that just amplifies and directs the entire adaptive response. All right, now we get to the true superpower of the adaptive immune system. It doesn't just win the battle, it remembers the enemy forever. It literally keeps a detailed archive of every single war it's ever fought. After an infection is cleared out, most of the B cells and T cells that were created will die off, but a special few remain. These are the memory B cells and memory T cells. These are long-lived cells that hold on to the memory of the antigen they were designed to fight. So if that same pathogen ever tries to invade again, these memory cells launch a response that is so fast and so powerful, you probably won't even realize you were sick. And this memory is the whole basis for how we acquire long-term protection. Active immunity is what we've been talking about. It's when your body actively learns and produces its own antibodies and memory cells, either by getting an infection or through a vaccination. This is the stuff that's long-lasting. Now, passive immunity is different. That's when you're just given antibodies from another source, like from a mother to her baby, or in an emergency rabies shot. It gives you immediate protection, but it's temporary because your body didn't learn how to make the weapons itself. And this right here perfectly captures the genius of vaccination. By introducing a completely harmless piece of a pathogen, like a dead virus or a super weakened bacteria, we can trigger this whole adaptive immune response. Your body learns, it creates antibodies, and it forms those crucial memory cells, all without you ever having to actually get sick. It's a brilliant way to train your immune system's special forces ahead of time. So, as we wrap up, just think about this. Your immune system is an incredibly powerful learning defense force. It can be taught to recognize and remember pretty much any invader it ever comes across. And that leaves us with a really exciting question for the future of medicine. What else can we teach it to do? What's the next threat we can train our bodies to defeat?